You kick yourself out.
I closed the wrong window.
He's like, I'm out of here.
I'm glad the intro is longer.
That's funny. I remembered to turn it down too, because the audio on that is explosive. Hi, everybody. I was in the midst of rewriting one of the banners, and then I saw Jason ditch. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a solo show. Bear with. Hello to everyone. And thanks for joining just a casual Friday. Thank TG. I saw someone in the chat was like, TGIF. Absolutely. It feels like that to me this week too. General, how are you, Jason?
I am good. That was, yeah, I was kind of panicking for you.
Oh, I would roll with the punches. That's the way Oh my gosh, I totally would have. I was like, it's fine. I will go with it.
How are you?
It's more. I'm good. It's morning, right? I'm still having my coffee. Today was delayed, and I was up super early, but I'm still feeling kind of like delayed. And yet I looked at the clock and I was like, oh my, time is really flying. Let's just see. I just want to say hello to some people. This just feels casual for me that we're just checking in. We're going to have a little conversation about spirit guides. I'm actually just putting up this banner now that we're not doing spirit guide readings per se, but if you have general spirit guide questions, we'd love to be in the conversation with you around that. So hello to everybody. And I see some new names here. Unseen Wanderer. Thank you so much. Kim is wonderful. I was just on with Kim and we were talking about spirit guides actually last night. They come up a lot. And we'll actually be kind of echoing what Kim was sharing about her experience with spirit guides and what that looks like. And I'm curious what it looks like for you guys as well. So feel free if you have questions, put them in the chat. Where do we want to start? Jason, what has your spirit guide journey look like? Is it something that's always been there? Is it new? What's that like?
Yeah, I guess I think it's been kind of I don't know. I don't really have a particular concept of what or who they are, but I do have a very strong spiritual team that kind of, it wasn't until actually your show with Stash Psychic or whatever.
Oh yeah, Gerald.
Where I asked that question and he said, oh, yeah, you can have him back anytime. Which actually, it wasn't that surprising to me because I think part of sometimes when I mean, I can be hard on myself in certain circumstances, but then I also think part of that might, and sometimes would be my spiritual team, like pushing me and all that. So, I don't really have a particular, I think it's, spirit guides appear to people in different ways. They could be individualized and manifest in ways that are more comfortable for you. It makes sense to me that I don't really have an image or, a visual representation of what they are. I mean, it's more of a feeling than concept, I guess, would be the vaguest way to put it.
I think that's familiar for a lot of people in that it's less about the physical and the attributes and the details of that construct and more about the feeling. And that's not for everybody, but I know a lot of people that I've spoken to and myself, I'm more in that, where it's like, and I think the cool thing about spirit guides is that they will take us back to memories where their involvement took place, and we sometimes didn't recognize it in that moment, and that lights me up. You can tell. It's like those are some of my favorite things, where it's like my conscious mind or my attention or the knowing around it, it wasn't clear in the moment that they were perhaps assisting or a part of it. And then in the reflection through another experience, they take us back to that and unveil that layer of it. And I love that. I love how they do that. So sometimes that's, I think underneath it, where because people talk about this, and the reason why we are doing this, we're doing a series of the workshops, and this one is if I have to say which one was my favorite, and I don't even fully know why it is, I think it's, I'm just going to sound that out right now. I think it's the energy that people feel and the exchange. The other one we do is a past life. The other one is the future life hypnosis workshops. And then the one that we're doing this Sunday is the meet or reconnect with your spirit team. I even want to broaden like spirit guide into like your spirit team, because it's not to get ahead of myself, but the parameters that we put around it can be really limiting. So the excitement for this one is super special. I was going somewhere with that. Maybe you can. Where was I going?
I agree. I mean, it's not to say that the past life regression ones aren't interesting and valuable in themselves, but I think because people don't have such a firm grip or expectations surrounding spirit guides, and also, I mean, even the future lives, when you're jumping ahead possibly hundreds of years, you don't go into it with, okay, I'm going to be back in the 1600s, or I'm going to be probably seeing this or that, which anything can really happen with past life regression too. Not everyone goes into the past. They can go into the future, or not even visit a life. They go directly to their spiritual team, their higher self, or it's I think there's a beauty in that. I mean, just like we have a concept of time of past, present, and future, it's the same with the spiritual team. It can be anything and everything all at once. So it's I think just having that awareness, and sometimes the uncertainty is really what opens you up and allows you to communicate in a sense. So yeah,
I think that that's the key, where it's like we can sometimes challenge ourselves or block ourselves in the unveiling or the getting to know them deeper or more, if you will. And in that, I think the key and the foundation is the communication. That's why they work with us, and that's why they want us to be in that communication, in that dialogue. And the beauty of that is that and this is echoing what Kim was sharing last night from Intuitive You, around our participation is like probably the number one component to it. We have to be in the participation, and it's not to say that we can't have a relationship with them without us participating, but to deepen that and to broaden it and to unveil more of that relationship, it comes through that participation, and that communication just really unfolds when we step into it. So that's why I feel so passionate about just really stripping it down and just creating the space to be in that exchange, because they are there regardless if we place our attention on them or not. They're still present. And so that's a beautiful reminder for us. So really, it's not important to some people to develop their spirit team knowing, and then for a lot of us it really is. So I'm excited about this this one, and we're changing it up a little bit, which is well, it was interesting how that's unfolded. And I liked it how you called it like meet your spirit guides. I almost want to change it to meet your spirit team. How do you feel about that? Not to put you on the spot, but I just did.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes. I mean, even in the session on Sunday, there's a portion where if it happens for you that you might get a name of a
Can
spirit
you
guide.
turn your microphone up a bit? I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. Oh, there we
Can
go.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, it's all a matter of it's kind of seeing it from their perspective that we need to label and we need to see, or we need some type of validation through our five senses. They do that, and so that can take many different forms. Like I've had, for example, experiences with a group hypnosis where people see Yoda and they see, or Power Rangers or whatever, and it's always kind of a shocking experience for them because it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. But the beauty is they will manifest if they need to for you in ways that make you most comfortable. So if you're if you love Yoda, then you possibly might see Yoda as your spirit guide, which that's great, and nothing's wrong with that. We just a lot of people have problems with the idea of a little green person being their spirit guide that is fictional. But again, what's fiction and nonfiction in the spiritual realm? I mean, we think it and it happens. So I kind of got off track there. I'm not sure what.
It brought me to that layer of imagination. And when we get too imaginative around it, our humanness like, okay, hold on. Like the judgment comes, the this, the that, and all of that. And we step away from it. But it's like if we just continue that curiosity through our imagination, what comes out of that is like the good stuff. And I just want to say, we're not going to do personal spirit guide messages. This is just going to be a short live. We just wanted to come on and touch base about the upcoming workshop and just be in a bit of a conversation about more general spirit guide questions. And we did get some already, so maybe we'll go to some of those. Mm-hmm. This one caught my eye of Unseen Wanderers asking, can I speak to my son's spirit guides? Absolutely. Because I'm in the ability of, I can see people's spirit guides around them. Sometimes they manifest in their physicality, if you will. And then the layers of the things that are unseen from the eye or the third eye. And then there's, all of those layers, but absolutely we can. And one of the ways of our ability to be in that communication, sometimes if we're challenged by the humanness, if you will, we can step into our higher self and be in that conversation through that channel. And in that, the communication, there is no restriction in our ability to be in that communication. So that's a really great question. And Jason, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, and I mean, I some of you probably know this, but I'm a QHHT practitioner, or the quantum healing hypnosis, and there's so many different, I don't want to say types of guides, but what that can look like. And I think Kevin's wanting to kind of make it more of the spiritual team makes more sense in that way, that I've worked with, we call it the higher self, but oftentimes when I work with clients, that can be anything. It can be personal spirit guide that's with you from birth, or it can be guides that have come in to help you at a particular point in your life, or it can be the higher self. And I say the ores and separating them all out, but essentially they're all the same energy, but they are not the same in that they have different levels of knowledge. And there's times that I work with clients, and the client will have questions that a particular guide might not have answers to, and it's just a matter of me, for example, in that situation, saying, is there someone there or some energy there that could answer this question? And sometimes they say yes, and another energy comes in, and there will be a shift in terms of energy in the room, that's tangible, and sometimes more intense if they have more knowledge to share and access to, for example, the Akashic records. So it's always, and there is, for example, getting back to the spirit guide, I mean, there can be, for example, in your case, Wanderer, it could be, you might have shared guides with your son.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that has become, for example, a little bit
Well,
more, a little bit more personal.
Uh-huh. We were questioning. It's so funny, and we'll expand on what we're giggling about. Is that we were in conversation about what to share, and sometimes it's like you just question that. And so we're going to be really transparent that we have literally in the last month, and working together through meditation, discovered, because that's the thing, we can discover new guides. And when I say discover, they've always been there. They've always, we've not maybe placed our awareness to them, or they just assist in different parts of our life. And so in this moment, Jason and I have discovered, and I'll speak for me, a guide that's working with both of us. And even in the most recent experience of that, it was profound. Like, we did a meditation that I don't know what percent of the experience in about a 30-minute meditation, overwhelmingly, this guide presented, I don't, what Jason, was it like 80% or more of the experience was the same. And so in the sharing, we were just like eyes wide open, going like, this is unbelievable. And
But I
so
think
in
it's
that,
also important to say how it happened, because it's how
right.
it started. Because that wasn't even, you were asking me, to kind of work with my abilities, and I wasn't really tuning into that, and it wasn't
Mm,
on purpose, but it was, can you see this and that? And then I was saying that I could see certain colors and an A-frame, and then all of a sudden it turned into this guide who I didn't know kind of resides in physically around you already. So it was this kind of, it was kind of like when in my practices as a practitioner, people have these questions about little particular things in their lives, and they say, well, you can worry about all that and do that on your free time, but this is really important right now, so we're not even going to even talk about that. So it was kind of like, yeah, you can practice these abilities and whatever else, but I'm here right now, and the connection, that opportunity is open to communicate. And it was I was very surprised.
mm,
um and I mean, yeah, it's a powerful spirit, to say
mhm.
the least.
Yeah. So in that sharing, and that's the thing where, to just go back to the workshop that we're doing, my kind of contribution in it, I was hosting them, and I was being prompted to go into readings, if you will. And so we're exploring that in this round of the workshops, and my ability to see spirit guides is usually really, really clear. And in my truth, I've held back from telling someone that this is who their spirit guide is, and this is what they look like, and this is what their name is, and all of that stuff, I still kind of hesitate to go into all of that information, because I think it's such a beautiful journey to do on our own. And we all have that ability to, if that's important, figure those kinds of things out. And so I do less of acknowledging all of those details. I will validate through maybe 1 or 2 points, so that you can be in that recognition, so that I'm clear on the link that I'm having with them. But that layer of this workshop has we did one already. It's really wonderful. And so I'm excited to be a part of it, and Jason has trusted me in it, and it just, keeps unveiling. So yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. A few questions here catching my
Actually, I see Unseen Wonder. I just kind of want, she said, I've wondered about a shared guide, or guidance system, so to speak. Thank you for answering. He's meant to communication is impossible. So,
Jason, your sound keeps cracking up for some reason. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just on my end, but...
Or maybe I'm getting away from the microphone.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Crackly. Yeah, I hear either tapping or crackly or something, but... not
yeah,
sure that
I mean, definitely when someone is having mental issues, I mean, there's no limits to what we can do. I mean, there's no this guide, that guide. I mean, and there's always a way to tap into, with good intention, someone else's guide, if that's meant to be. So, I mean, we only place limits on ourselves. It's just a matter of also the intention, which is also, I mean, I think that's an important point that we've talked about before in terms of spirit guides is, they're there to help us, but it's never to the extent of which that they will make magic happen, because they are fully aware of the fact that we are here for a purpose. We do have a life to live. And, I always go to this idea of, if you use prayer as an example of one way to communicate with guides. I had a teacher one time that said, there's the pray, P-R-A-Y, but there's also pray in terms of P-R-E-Y. So do you pray to your guides, or do you pray on them? So that's always about the intention that we, communication, it's important in terms of what are you asking for? Why are you asking it? Why do you want to establish that connection? And is it for gains and material, things, or is it because you generally want some help in terms of what is best for you at this particular point in your life to help you in the best way that you can your journey?
I like this question, Earth Mama, and I'm maybe just, if you're still here, if you could expand on what you mean by the different levels. I want to say yes, but I don't know if I fully understand the question.
I mean, I can kind of answer this a little bit. It's been explained to me that there are different levels, and that really, again, it's not a matter, even when we talk about higher dimensions, I've received, kind of the information that we call it higher, but it's not a hierarchy. So it's not just because it's a higher level guide or a higher something, there isn't a distinction that we put on it. So it's just because you're speaking with a guide who's not necessarily as knowledgeable about everything, and they're there for a specific purpose to help you at a particular point in your life, it's not more valuable, and it's not that they're better or worse than other guides. So I'm kind of getting that nudge to kind of share that while there are different levels, it's not a matter of my guides are better than your guides, or
Right.
or I don't want to talk to you because you don't know so much. it's all about just access and experience. And some guides can be, recent, have had lives, on Earth as a person. Encountered, some clients who, well, one in particular who had a protector spirit that actually came through her session, who was a little intimidating, but that was kind of his job, and he had had a life with her in a previous life and decided that he would become one of her guides throughout her lifetimes. So the levels, it's more about experience and access to knowledge, and there are newer guides and training and things like that, but it's again, it's all about just knowledge and experience and why they're with you.
Mm-hmm. And I think they serve a purpose in any given moment. So to assist us where we're at in our life and what we're experiencing, and the more we experience, that kind of opens things up. And so where they will, because I was seeing in some of the comments about, just being in recognition that there are new guides that are stepping in, and that's very normal. Like they do that in a way that, if time was a real thing, like it's so timely in reflection to what we're really experiencing. And the beautiful part about that is the more we choose to experience things, that can change. So I know myself, I have guides that I have awareness when I was 3 or 4 years old of a specific guide that maybe 6 years ago brought me back to that child self, and gave me the recognition that she was with me in those moments. And it was like an aha. And in that, she's worked with me at different times through my life. And I don't worry when I don't experience her, or I'm in conversation with her, for sometimes months at a time. There's no kind of like, I don't gauge that. I don't judge it. I just allow it to be. And in that, there are guides, if you will, that present in so many various different ways. And I was writing some of it down. Like I've witnessed ET. I've witnessed all the different dimensional, light, star, animals, like, human. The possibilities around what a guide actually looks and feels like is, I don't think there's any borders around it. I think that it is limitless in how that presents. And so just really, I think the underlying is the communication, and they're here to assist. And I saw just a follow-up of Unseen Wanderer. That's a beautiful intention, because we can call upon them for ourselves, and we can call upon them for other people to really just be in assistance. So I think that's a wonderful intention. Yeah.
Yeah, the Akashic Records always seems to come up, and I think it's because I always mention them. The Akashic Records, so Cheryl Simpson, so is Akashic Records is another level. Is that what you mean? Not all spirit guides have access to the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records, if you are unaware, is kind of like an energetic storehouse supercomputer that records everything and anything that you experience in a life. And that's not just your life, but other lifetimes, other people's lifetimes. It's just, it records everything, literally. Well, not literally, I guess, energetically. But again, it's not saying that some energy that does not have access to these records or access to particular knowledge is any less of a guide or being helpful. It's just they have a different job to do on the other side. So just because I'm veterinarian doesn't doesn't make me any less or better than, I don't know, coffee barista. I don't know. So
Right. I love this question. When do we call upon archangel spirit guides versus your spirit team or even angels? My feeling around this, and this has just been in through my exchange directly with some of the archangels, is that what they have shared is that there are moments in our life that, according to our contract, if you will, that is the blueprint where we can have those moments where they have shared with me that they've stepped in without our even having to acknowledge because of the greater contract, if you will. They kind of bypass the, because we've made this agreement that if these moments were to occur and they need to step in, that they will. And so I feel like the archangels and the work that I have done with them, they're really clear on what their responsibility and what their capabilities are to assist us in this human experience. And so for that, it's like this knowing that when you, even in your question, you already know that when you need to call upon them for those very specific attributes of what their offering is, we just do. And so I love that question. And Jason, if you have anything to add to that.
I mean, from my experience, again, it's a matter of labeling. So I know that, in my upbringing, I
You
was
keep cutting.
aware. In my upbringing, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I really didn't grow. I mean, my mom, she's very much aware of and kind of, resonates with the idea of angelic guides and archangels. I think it's just
That was
how
so crazy. I have to interrupt you. I looked at they said, look at the clock, and it was 33:33. Talk about angelic realm. Anyways, carry on.
and when I looked, it was 33:44.
Of course it was.
So it's whatever speaks to you. I do know that the archangels are, I've communicated in my sessions with, certain beings and entities that are, farther away from the human experience. And it's very prevalent. There are some guides that have a personality and things, but there are those entities and beings that are more detached from the human experience. And so that they're very clear, and there's no fluff, and there's no, am I going to get this job type. That it's irrelevant to them. It's just more about the core foundations of why we're here and what we need to do. It's not lovey-dovey. It's like, that's kind of the best way I can put it. And those type of energies are they don't succumb to the same worries and fears and kind of, I don't want to say smaller things that we do, which is always kind of a wake-up call in my communication with them, that, yeah, in the greater scheme of things, am I going to win the lottery tomorrow? Really isn't a big deal. And it's a waste of time, a waste of energy.
I love it. Great question, Cheryl. How many spirit guides are people offered throughout one's life? What comes to mind there, or what I feel about that, is that we are all, they're saying that we're all equal in the deserving of access to all of them. And so it's not like this, like Jason was saying before, about this kind of hierarchy of, this one is up here and this one is down here. And in the flip of that, we're not in that same either. Meaning that we're all, it's equal opportunity to have the access to all of them. And in that, it goes to our responsibility and our own free will of the choices we make in life and the experiences that we have. And, we might just be better suited for this. And I was reading one of the comments, and they're bringing me back to that about, I'm sorry, I'm not sure who made the comment, but about kind of like, oh, my guides are probably getting tired of me because I can be tough, or whatever that looks like. And I mean, I think that, like, because it is a relationship, that it is sometimes we just, for various reasons, relationships will change. And so in the guide relationship, the spirit guide team, that's a part of it as well, where we have gone through it. And it's like I was saying before, some people might have someone that they've had since birth that works with them in their entirety. Some of us get little snippets of where they kind of assist us in life and where they don't. I think it's an interesting thing. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's unlimited is what I feel around that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, from my knowledge, you do have one guide that's assigned to you, and not assigned, but will be with you from, birth to death. So there is always one. And then the rest kind of come and go according to what you need at a particular time. So, kind of going back to the veterinarian thing, if you're working with animals and that's your kind of your passion, where you are at your point in your life, a guide will be there with you in order to receive guidance in that area. And then if you quit that job and you become a acrobat, obviously the veterinarian guide isn't really going to be helping you anymore. So
right.
It's just all a matter of what you need to help you in the best way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just being prompted to share this now. And hi, Terry, nice to see you. I had a situation that occurred, I think it was about 5 years ago, and I was in the UK. Terry, you just prompted me because, anyways, in that I had taken some photographs, and I didn't know that I had this ability to take photographs, and spirit kept popping in, and I would dismiss it. Well, it happened quite more and more frequent, and that phenomenon just became undeniable. And in it, I had taken a series of pictures, and this energy in the background, sitting on a bench, presented itself. And so I've sat with that picture. I've sat with that, knowing that experience for the better part of 5 years. And in a recent experience in my life, they came back into my life. My attention and my awareness, it was that unveiling of, they brought me back. And it was through a meditation that Jason and I were doing, that they presented again. And so I'm just really excited to be in that exploration of, because I'm curious, of course, I go into that why now, the why behind it. And that really lights me up. And where I don't get too caught up on is, all of those things that I think sometimes, and that, I mean, it might work for some people to really go into the categorizing and the details and the attributes and all of that stuff. I'm more curious about the communication, and how that will assist me in this moment. And so how that unfolds is just the way that I explore my relationships with my team. But it's interesting how they will kind of pop in and pop out. So so the workshop that we're doing is going to take place this Sunday. No, is it this Sunday? Yeah, it's this Sunday. Oh my God, I'm like scattered with my thoughts lately. It's this Sunday from 12 o'clock. I know there might have been a 10 o'clock mention, but just to clarify, it's 12 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time till about 2 o'clock. So a 2-hour container. And it's a really intimate, it's a beautiful experience. I know Jason and I really love the sharing that occurs. People with their experience. We love holding that space for people to share their experience, because in that there's often message and understanding for other people. So we're really looking forward to that, which will be on Sunday. And of course, that's led by Jason and his expertise through the QHHT. And although it's not I don't know what, actually, why don't you talk about that? Why don't you walk us through of what that actually,
Yeah, it's just, if you're familiar with QHHT, or the quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is, it's a process of going into the deepest level of trance. It was created by Dolores Cannon, and the QHHT sessions have to be one-on-one in person, but she developed a technique that is for groups that she used with large groups of people, obviously, but it was designed for people just to realize that hypnosis is a matter of just opening yourself up and relaxing. We have these preconceived ideas of what hypnosis is and isn't. Unfortunately, it's been characterized as, people clucking like chickens and all that on a stage and being embarrassed, which is unfortunate, because hypnosis is extremely powerful. It is even, I also like to kind of call it meditative state. I mean, in meditation, you are in sort of a trance. So the group hypnosis is just deep relaxation and just tapping into abilities and energies that are nothing new to us. You watching this right now is a form of hypnosis, because there could be things going around you that you aren't aware of. And it's supposed to be fun. It's easy. And I will say that it is guided. So I will be obviously taking you into the relaxation, but it's also a matter of being open and trusting yourself too. So, there are parts where, in the vein of Dolores, it's asking, for a name that you could use with them. But it's also acknowledging that they don't really have a name, or they don't have to appear to you. But for those of you that do need that validation and feeling of connection, they will appear to you in whatever form that may be. So like Kevin said, it can be animals. It could even just be orbs of light. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with.
I love it. Yeah. I've got a few comments here that I want to acknowledge. Where are we here? Lots. Thanks for being in the conversation. It just feels, it's wonderful sometimes just to be in the conversation and to connect with you all, because of, when I'm doing interviews and I'm asking questions, I'm so interested in the conversation that it's not that I forget about the chat, but it's hard to be, for me, in the this and spirit. So it's like, this just feels really special. And so I appreciate all of you just for hanging out and chatting. And of course, I just looked at the clock again and it said 44:44. I love it. And the numbers are just so amazing to me. And I looked at this one, and Terry, you said you both have a beautiful flow, and it was at 11:11 when you said that, which I thought was very curious to me. So that's just the signs, And there was a question that felt like a continuation. I'm just doing some random ones. I'm a Gemini, Unseen Wanderer. And thanks for being here. And
there's something I was going to say, but I can't
Jason,
remember.
do you have a website? Yes, he does. Jason, can you tell them what your website is?
Yes, it is jasonqhht.com. Yes.
Wonderful. Put that in the. I'll put it in the. Normally, I have it in the description box, but I didn't. And this one, dun, dun, dun. I love this. I showed a photo of my father who passed to my friend who is a medium. She took a photo of it, and on her phone, 5 orbs showed up near his legs. It's so wonderful. Their ability to influence the electronics. And that's so funny because I just heard a ding.
It's my phone.
But it's perfect. It's so perfect because it's to my point. So it's to the point that their ability to influence the electronics, you can't make, you know what I mean? I find myself saying this, I need to upgrade this saying, but you can't make this stuff up. They are there to show us, remind us, convince us in some respect when the humanness kind of dismisses it. But it's like, it's just so beautiful. I could, I
I also I wanted I finally remembered what I was supposed to say.
Because
I no, it's about, you know, the personal responsibility and,
Mm.
you know, what, you know, for example, on the session on Sunday, it's what you're bringing into it. And so this will be focused, and um uh asking questions is a part of it. So if you're planning on coming, just, you know, what would you like to be able to ask your guides? And it's also, and I kind of already touched on this with, you know, what is your intention for wanting to contact your guides? Is it to prey on them and say, hey, I need this right now? Or is it more just, what do I need to know? How do I open myself up to the best communication? Am I on my path? So it's making sure that it's there. Again, there's no right and wrong in questions, but we do have a contract, and we have created this life, and this life is the most important, and they won't interfere. They can't. It's kind of the one law of non-interference, that they can't change our life path and life course, which goes, you know, some people kind of are let down about that, but it's also, we have power within ourselves, and we have incredible capabilities on our own, and manifestation is one of them. So it's important that not to feel helpless when, for example, your deepest desires aren't answered, because there is an element of, they know we are powerful, we can manifest things. It takes a longer time here, which is kind of like the common frustration for beings that haven't been here before, that, you know, we can't think it and have it manifest right before our eyes, but that's part of the human experience. But even if you aren't aware of them, or you don't communicate often, you have a power within yourself to do it also, that we're not completely helpless, that we can make things happen. Our thoughts dictate our realities. So if you always, you know, say to yourself, I'm never going to get this job, or I'm never going to be in that type of relationship, or I'm never going to have this or that, that's what you're going to get. And so it's all a matter of intention, and really watching your thoughts and how you manifest what you think to yourself in the background. So
Yeah. I love that, Jason. Ellen, I love this too, as I cannot hear my spirit guides. Do you know who my spirit guide is? The beautiful thing about that, Kim was saying, and she was on my channel last night from Intuitive You, and she was sharing, and she said something that I had never heard around really focusing on what our dominant abilities are in regards to pardon me, the communication with our spirit team. And in that, shifting into, if you're not hearing it, shifting into I'm picking up on your clairsentience, so your feeling, and then your clairvoyance, so you're seeing. So sometimes just in that, where we can adjust, and we need to be responsible for that, because they're listening, if you will, into what request we put out. So if we're not hearing it, we can sometimes say, say it a little louder or in a different way, going into something that we're a little stronger in. So you continue that exploration, and that will unveil. And then that element too of what they're saying about the imagination is instrumental. It's instrumental. Don't dismiss the imagination. Allow the imagination, be open, and as that unfolds, that is the communication. And so I can't stress that enough about our participation in it.
It's the same thing with hypnosis too. It's people get so afraid and fearful of, oh, I can't do it because I'm really bad at visualization. Well, first, what do you consider to be visualization? Because visualization is imagination. It is, it's not only accessing memories of really special times in your life, being able to put yourself back there and being able to smell the smells, hear the sounds, see the people and the joy and the emotion that was there. We call it visualization, but it's the whole framework of experience. So communication, it's the same way. It's like those little things, seeing a little sparkle out of the corner of your eye, or that feeling or that intuition that you need to do something, which I noticed with after our conversations with Willow. She noticed they do lead you to solutions of your problems, like sending you to a street or the perfect house to buy. I mean, they can do those little, that's not interfering. It's like it's that saying, we can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's the same thing. We have that free will. We can choose to drink or not. And, they do get frustrated. Sometimes I've spoken with some higher selves and communicated with them. I'm like, oh my God, she's so stubborn. She won't listen to us. And we've given her we've been doing everything and she won't listen, or she doesn't trust herself. And it's all about just being open to the experience and listening. And also imagination is that one characteristic from childhood that, a lot of us, it's beaten out of us. And we come into this world with full knowledge and abilities of our infinite existence, and that childlike wonderment that I always have always stressed throughout my life, that is so important to our soul. And so it's try to reignite that light again. And it can open doorways that we're supposed to be open from birth until forever, I guess.
Yeah, I love it. Beatrice, I love this too. And I'm sure lots of us can relate to it. That's the physical validation that, those experiences are undeniable. And if we needed that other extra layer of validation, if you will, to deepen the trust, physically, we're going to feel that. So that's just a solid, indication of that experience. So I love it. Spirit rings our doorbell, touches my husband physically, and knocks on our closet door in my reading and healing room. I love it. Lots of energy there, Brenda. I'm not surprised.
And funny, sometimes you could even be the one that's creating that too.
Sure.
Just because you have an experience doesn't mean it's something outside of yourself. I went through a period where and it still happens sometimes, that I get touched on my feet in bed at night. And when that first started happening to me, I was a little scared of it. And then it just kind of naturally came to me that sometimes it is a guide and sometimes it's a presence, but it's not something to be fearful of. And so now it still happens once in a while to me. And I almost kind of like it in a weird sort of way, because it's like it brings me back to being in the moment and being in the present, which I think, in essence, talking about it now, that kind of makes me think that that is the case. And then I've also learned that sometimes it's me unconsciously releasing energy that makes my blankets kind of shake or whatever else. And that was kind of a new realization for me, that just because it's something external to us doesn't mean we're not responsible. So
I just looked at the time again. 55. I mean, and that's the thing. Sometimes we just need it. And because it's interesting, I'm starting a question and I'm listening to the conversation that's happening in the chat, and it's, where was it here? Oh yeah, and so on the heels of that, how sometimes we just need it to be 2, 3, 4 times in a row to really just anchor that validation. And so Unseen Wanderer is saying, my problem is differentiating between imagination and messages because my imagination is so vivid. And then I saw that after our conversations with Willow, I agree with that statement, Unseen Wanderer. I can self-sabotage by over-analysis. That's just it. If we just allowed, which we can, and received, which we can, and stopped there, and we didn't go down that rabbit hole of judgment and analysis, and on it goes. It's like they remind us of this too, about the signs, if you will. Sometimes we can be having this experience, we get this sign, and then we go wandering into this, well, what does it mean? What da, and we go further away from the actual, what the meaning was the validation of what we previously were just thinking, what we were just experiencing. And this is not always, but a lot of the times, that's actually what it is. And then in the humanness, we go on this journey for and sometimes, and I've been there where it's like, years later, I'm going, well, what did that mean? Clearly at that point, I've likely missed it. And so I love that openness about that. Yeah. I've been there.
I've also, I've learned through my experience doing the hypnosis is that, part of the process is developing questions for your higher self. Some people come with tons, some people come with a few, but almost every session that I have with a client, I ask a question and their higher self is like, yeah, she knows this. She's just wasting time. She doesn't want to act on it. Or she knows this. We've been telling her this whole long, but she just doesn't trust herself. And it's, going to what you said, it's that, if you think it's your grandfather locking you in your house, it probably is. And that's it. Period. That's the message. And then we just have to overcomplicate and overthink it. And then I'm guilty of it. I had one of my sessions, my higher self, they're like, he thinks too much. And, he thinks too much. The session I had recently was, almost the entire thing was, he thinks too much. He thinks too much. He thinks too much. And it's true. I think too much. I didn't even get to see a lifetime because they didn't want me to think too much. So it's, but that's not to say also that your spiritual team, some of them have a really great sense of humor, and sometimes they can, and play tricks too. I had one client, and I only remembered this recently when I was speaking to a client, that he would hear music coming from places in his house. And, he was just on the cusp of letting go of his math teacher past and coming into the spiritual aspect and not over analyzing and everything else. And he had this question that he wanted to know because he would be home alone and you hear this faint music. And during the interview, I asked him, I was like, well, is a specific type of genre of music or anything like, and he was like, no, it would just be just quiet enough to where I really could just only hear notes once in a while. And so when his higher self came through, they said flat out, and this is the only time that I've ever had spirit guides use bad language, but they said, yeah, we do it to F with them. And I was like, and he was this really reserved math teacher type guy. And when that came out, I was like, okay. And they're like, he needs to loosen up. We just do it to just drive him crazy because he needs to get out of what does this music mean? They admitted we do it just to screw with him. And it was like, eye-opening just in the case, okay, that was their choice of wording, but yeah. And it's sometimes, a lot of times they say we take things too seriously all the time. And a lot of times things can happen and they might not have a meaning, and that's fine.
Yeah, I love it. Auntie D says, I had a spirit appear at the end of my bed. And when I woke up in the middle of the night, I blinked and he was gone. Was there a reason why he was there? Yeah, that's exactly the point that they were just making about he was there just to show you that he is there. And that's, and what the next layer of that will be your next interaction. At the very beginning of this, I got a new deck in the mail yesterday. It's called the Urban Crow Oracle. And I've always been fascinated with crows and ravens, birds in general. And so I pulled two cards, and I understand why these two cards came in. And so the first card is the number 1 card, which is the abundance, and the 54, which is the wrath. And to me, it just it shows the kind of polarity in the relationship that we can have with the guides and all of those realms. And in that relationship, there's abundance, and they're there for all of us. There is no limitation in what that communication is for each and every single one of us. And in it, in the humanness, the wrath of that can be the dismissal, the just searching for things that are I don't want to say a waste of time, because I think there's meaning in it, but it's just that polarity of that relationship that's coming through in these cards. So I choose to be in the abundance of it, where I don't spend too much time getting caught up on all of the details and the frustration. The moment I start to feel frustrated, or those lower vibrational emotions around that type of exploration, I pause and I just step away from that powerfully, because it's not the energy that I'm going to continue in. I know Spirit tells us this all the time, that we're never going to miss anything that we're supposed to get. And I sometimes have to remind myself in those moments, because that frustration snowball can happen, and that takes us, into a very different energy. So I really love the energy of that.
Yeah.
Of cards. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will add that, without going into a whole other conversation, but in terms of what your body tells you through illness and things like that, we're essentially not ever supposed to be sick. And it's only our spiritual team communicating with us in various ways. But I don't want to go down that train of thought. I'm getting back to why I brought it up in the first place, that almost everything that we experience that is physically holding us back, depending if you have a contract to learn from it or not, but everything comes from a place of fear. Fear, they have said continually over and over and over again, the only true disease on the earth is fear. It's contagious. It comes from a place of not having enough. I mean, all of the negative emotions that we experience, if you want to call them negative, but anger, jealousy, greed, all that comes from a place of fear, of not having enough. And so when it comes to the frustration of trying to figure something out, it's, what are you afraid of? That's the deepest question. So I always, that's always the question when you're frustrated, when you're angry, when you're jealous, or anything else. Or I've read so many books and I've done all these practices, but why can't I connect with my spirit guides? It's coming from a place of fear. And so sometimes that can be the block to opening yourself up to the communication, that once you release fear and knowing it's going to happen when it's going to happen, and we can pack as much as we want into our brains and think we know everything, but it's a matter of not being afraid to let the communication flow when it's the right time. And it could be, there are cases when you aren't supposed to know things at a particular time, that it would you off track, and that it would disrupt your path of learning. And they will not, for example, in my work, they won't tell a person an answer to a question if it would disrupt their life path. Because it's ultimately, this life is the most important.
Yeah. Spirit Watcher Suzanne, thanks for being here. And I of course, my eye was taken to I also get messages through numbers, and you said that at 11:33. Amazing. And I want to just add, they're saying that we have the choice to replace the fear with curiosity.
Yes.
Always.
We choose.
Maybe collectively, we needed to be reminded of that we can replace the fear with curiosity. And that's a very, very different energy. And it's very powerful that we are in that knowingness, and the ability to make that choice in any given moment. We do.
It's also, control, the need to control. Figures into that too, that I want to know this right here, right now, but you're not giving it to me, is coming from a place of fear. And it's a matter of surrender. And I've learned the hard way, the more you try to control, the less things are going to happen the way you want them to. And so it's often, the first step is, okay, it's okay not to be in control all the time, and just to surrender yourself to the process, and have faith. It will happen when it needs to happen, or things will manifest when they need to.
I love that. It feels like a good place to end the conversation today. Thank you all for being here. This was going to be a quick little
It never is.
I love being in a conversation with Jason and all of you, and this just felt really good. I feel like these casual kind of like conversations light me up, and I'm not separate from needing the reminders and the next layer of the trust within the communication, because after all, I'm human. And I have moments of being a really good human and moments of that not looking so good. So in that, I rely on my connection with other people, my community, and that's each and every single one of you. So I do not take that for granted in any moment. So we thank you all for joining in. This was fun. I want to do more of it. That's always part of my intention. And for those of you, there was a few people asking, yes, we have lots of room left in the workshops. They are through Zoom. You sign up through the link that's I think I put it in. If I didn't put it in, I will put it in the description box. I know someone had put it into the chat. Thank you so much for doing that for us. Reach out. My email. It's in my about section. You've got Jason's email. If you have questions, we're always open to being in that conversation. Sometimes it takes a bit to get back, but do know that we try our best to be available. And again, I've got 2 winners for the 5,000 subscriber contest that I had, and I will be communicating. I've reached out once, but I will solidify the dates for you. So if you're watching this and just wondering, we will get that done before the end of the year. And then what else do I have going on?
I will add also,
Sure,
in terms of the workshops, because we are, if you've been to them, you were part of the first cycle of the 3, the past life, the spirit guides, the future life. We are holding them more frequently. So if you can't make the Sunday's spirit guide one, the future life happens next week also on the 10th. So I will have that up and available for posting pretty soon. So if you want to join that one, you're more than welcome. I think it's 5 to 7 Pacific on November 10th. So just FYI. I don't know why I just did a little accent.
FYI. I will put the registration in the description description box after the. I don't know why I'm reading out loud, but I am. I mean, that's how transparent I am.
It's 11101. It's there.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Oh my goodness. Wonderful. There was something else that I was going to share. Oh yes, today is Friday, so I just wanted to, people ask sometimes like where and when and all of that. So I just want to be more transparent with that kind of stuff. Not that I'm not trying to not tell you, but I'm getting my tires installed at 2. No, I'm kidding. I am though, actually. Oh, I'm so random sometimes. I am. Yes. So Kevin Loving Vibration is celebrating his 5,000 subscriber tomorrow. I think it's at 5 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. So tune into that. On Sunday, I will be joining Debbie, Freebird Spirit, and Lisa, Intuitive Tarot, on the couch. I think I am now going to be a regular on that. So that's on Freebird Spirits on the couch, which is every Sunday at 11:11 Mountain Time, which is 10:11 Pacific Time. I hope I didn't butcher that, but I'm excited to be a part of that collaboration. And then on Sunday evening, this Sunday evening, oh yeah, the workshop's on Sunday morning. I'm busy on Sunday, y'all. But on Sunday evening, I am doing a monthly collaboration with Susan Lynn, who I love and adore. She's an amazing medium and psychic. And our collaboration has been really wonderful for both of us to just be in that demonstration. We do a lot of mediumship, and working with each other has been really powerful. And so I invite you to tune into, we're alternating channels. So this Sunday we will be on Susan Lynn's channel at 4 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. So that is 4 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, sorry. And then, yeah, so that's what we've got for now. And I will put that link to the registration in the description box below. Any final words?
Yeah, there's a quick question. Elizabeth asked, will Zoom link be emailed before the Sunday event? The answer is yes. When you register through Eventbrite, you'll get a verification that you're registered, also the Zoom link. I will say that some people get confused when you follow that link on Sunday. It will ask you to sign up for the event. That's basically your ticket in to the room. So don't think that you're having to sign up for something else, or even if you already have a Zoom account, you still have to do it. It's just your ticket in to the event. And if you miss an email, Eventbrite already has preset emails up, so you'll get reminders the day before, an hour before, and then also one that kind of screams at you at starting. So there'll be plenty of information on how to get in.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Jason.
Yes.
Always a pleasure. All right, y'all. I don't know why I'm saying y'all. Like,
well, I did the country accent earlier. That's why I said I don't know where that came from.
So funny. All right. Lovely to see you all. We will see you again. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend. And yes, the lights, we changed those. We changed the time. Apparently for the last time, I think. Something to do with Washington. I don't know. I'm on the west coast of Canada, and I can't wait for that whole thing to not change. So, yeah, there you are. Yeah. Bye for now.
Bye.
What, Jason?
Nothing. Bye.